Welcome back, everyone, to the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition Player's Handbook Read-Through. We already spoke about the wizard and the mage. Now we're going to talk about specialist wizards. Why are they different? Why are they their own separate thing? And what makes them better and worse than a generalist mage? Well, we're going to find that out right now. Let's get into it. All right, first we got the specialist wizard, a wizard who concentrates his effort in a single school of magic is called a specialist. There are specialists in each type of magic, although some are extremely rare, like the diviner or the abjurer, because they're not quite useful. Are well suited to adventuring. The diviners, there you go. Actually, in there, the diviner spells are limited and not generally useful in dangerous situations. On the other hand, player characters might want to consult an NPC diviner before starting an adventure. This is D&D in a nutshell. If a class, part of a class, is not useful, it should be available as a hireable NPC. Like, I never want to be a sage in an adventuring group, but I always want to have a sage in a town near the dark fortress on Mount Doom so I can get some information.
And that's why you pay one as a henchman.
Exactly. Specialist wizards have advantages and disadvantages when compared to mages. Their chance to know spells of their school is greatly increased, but the intensive study results in a smaller chance to know spells outside their school. The number of spells they can cast increases, but they lose the ability to cast spells of the school in opposition to their specialty in the diagram to the left. Their ability is to research and create new spells within their specialty is increased, but the initial selection of spells in their school may be quite limited. All in all, players must consider the advantages and disadvantages carefully. Now, I'm going to go over the specialists in a minute. We're going to get down to that chart, but this is that the diagram that was talking about. If you are an illusionist, you will definitely not be able to learn necromancy spells. If you are a conjurer, you will definitely not be able to learn greater divination. If you're an alterer, you will definitely not be able to learn abjuration spells. Now,
Transmuter, but yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Now, it's actually worse than that. We're gonna get that in the chart. I'm just telling you, definitely there's spell list that you're not
That's the
gonna,
starting point.
That's just the starting point. That's the beginning of the race. In addition, each school has different restrictions on race. Oh, we're getting racial again. Yes, D&D Second Edition is getting racial all the time. Get over it. These restrictions are given in Table 22. Note that Lesser Divination is not available as a specialty. The spells of this group, vital to the function of a wizard, are available to all wizards. I touched on that in the last video. I'm pushing it home here. It is not on the list of verboten spells for anyone. Lesser Divination has its place for all wizards. It's very situational, but it's there. Race. List of those races, either through a natural tendency or quirk of fate, are allowed to specialize in that art. Note the gnome, though unable to be a regular mage, can specialize in illusionists. They can be illusionists, the only kind of mage they can be, which is unique for all other races. Minimum ability score. List the minimum ability scores needed to study at that intensity in that school. All schools require at least a minimum intelligence to be a mage, which is 9, but you have an additional prime requisite as listed in the table. Opposition schools always includes the school directly opposite the character's school of study. I told you that earlier. In addition, the schools to either side of this one may also be disallowed due to the nature of the character's primary school. For example, an invoker cannot learn enchantment, charm, or conjuration summoning spells and cannot use magical items that duplicate spells from these schools. That's another rub. A generalist mage, out of all the classes in this book, has the most access to the most kinds of magical items. That's one of his perks. But a specialist mage loses some of that aspect because he cannot have a, let's say he is a, let's use the example here. He uses enchantment. He uses invoking spells. He's an invoker, but he cannot use a ring of human influence because that is an enchantment charm rated item. Can't use it.
But he can use a ring of zombie influence.
Sure, because that's necromancy. So let's take a look at this chart I've been alluding to for all this time. Here we go. Abjurer, conjurer, diviner, enchanter, illusionist, invoker, necromancer, transmuter. Now, I know a lot of people who like, oh, invoker's the way to go. I want all of my boom boom spells. Sure, you get your boom boom spells, but you are completely out of enchantment, charm, and conjuration summoning. And the problem with not being able to cast enchantment charm is that you could really get out of so many situations with charm person or charm monster. So many situations can be resolved without danger.
Isn't hold person enchantment charm also? I forget.
Yes. And conjuration summoning, I love monster conjuring. I love conjuring an ally that I can throw into a fight as a meat shield. Me having 1d4 or whatever hit points per level, that sounds very enticing to me. I think that would make me live a lot longer if someone else absorbed all those arrows.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think every one of the specialists loses a really cool school at some point. And again, this is where the Abjurer gets kicked in the dick a second time, because he loses the biggest school of all, alteration.
Alteration, and what Max is saying is true. It has the largest spell list. Transmutation spells, right? Yeah, transmutation spells is the largest spell list, and it encompasses a lot of the high level spells that do really cool stuff.
And what's funny is the transmuter doesn't really lose anything that you might think is all that. Look, necromancer's what I played the most by far. Loses abjuration and necromancy. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is not game changing in any way. Losing enchantment charm, game changing. Losing invocation, evocation, depending on how you play your specialist, that could be game changing. Losing alteration, that can be game changing. So, conjurer sounds good to me.
Yeah, I don't know. Conjure without fireball though is a little. I don't know, but I get it. And fire. To be fair, on the other side of it, evoker doesn't get the conjuration. There's something cool about having the pet and the fireball, or the,
that would be great. Yeah, but hey, then play a regular mage. Stay in your lane, son. That's my answer. All right. But okay, here are the bonuses. We talked about, okay, yeah, you need to have a 15 wisdom to be an abjurer. You need a 15 constitution to be a conjurer. You need a 15 dex to be a transmuter. These are high level ability score minimums. This is like ranger paladin level type high level requirements, right? Not as many, but as the bar is just as high. So that's a downside right there. Well, give us the good stuff. What do I get? A specialist gains 1 additional spell per spell level, provided the additional spell is of his school. Let's see what that looks like in real time. Where's the spell list? There's a spell list. Okay. So first level, he gets 2 spells. 2 first level. One of them, any spell he can have, and the other must be his specialist school. Second level, 3 spells. 2 of them, whatever he can normally have, and one of his specialty school. And then let's go to 8th level. 5, 4, 4, 3. Whatever he gets, whatever he can normally get, plus 1 extra of every spell level, as long as it's of his school. This keeps adding up. So the higher level you get, the more unfair it seems to the regular mage.
Now I'm going to talk out of scope for just a moment here.
Okay.
If you have the Tome of Magic and you play a wild mage has no opposition schools, but is a specialist. As long as 1 spell per level is a wild magic spell.
Yes. Now, but that's not here. That's neither
that's
here.
Fair, yeah, right. Yeah.
That's neither here, only there. So we're not talking about that. But for this book, that's how specialists work. And then let's talk about what else they get. Because specialists have an enhanced understanding of spells within their school, they receive a +1 bonus when making saving throws against those spells cast on them by other wizards. They know how the sausage is made. They can greater prepare themselves for the effects. Okay, so they have a greater resistance because they know how it works. Likewise, other characters suffer a -1 penalty when defending against the specialist school specifically.
So many dungeon masters forget that. I
Forget
always have to
that.
remind
Yes.
them that, hey, that dude's got a -1. It's only
Yes.
5%, but that 5% can come in
Can
handy on
be a
occasion.
lot. Yes, especially at low levels. This starts at level 1 when there are some saving throws against spell that are 19, 18, 19, stuff like that. A fighter, that +1 could make it, oh crap, I only have a 5% chance to
Yep.
save instead of a 10. You cut his chance to save in half. So don't forget that, and don't let the DM forget that.
Yep.
Specialists receive a 15% bonus when learning spells from their school, but a -15% deficit when learning spells from other schools. That's a lot. Depending on how smart you are, if you're 9, if you only have a 9 intelligence, you already got a problem learning spells.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
You've already got a problem.
I had a character one time, of course, a necromancer, that I kept failing my freaking rolls for necromancy spells, but I was making it for all the other ones. It turned into a running joke, and that was not fun because
As a matter
I
of
had
fact, let's go ahead and take a look. Let's take a look at the intelligence write-up. Where is it? Ability scores, strength, constitution, intelligence. Here we go. So you have an intelligence of 9. Your chance to learn any spell is 35%. That sucks. That absolutely sucks. And the maximum number of spells per level you can ever have is 6. In the first like 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 levels, that's not going to affect you. It's later on when you get to like level 13, 15, then it's going to start hurting quite a bit. But 35% chance to learn a spell blows. If you have a 15 dex or whatever and you want to be an invoker, great. Your fireball, you're going to get a 50 shot.
Let's also remind people, if you fail that roll, you don't get to learn that spell until you improve by 1 level.
Yeah, I believe that's in the magic section or even the D&D.
Yeah,
but yes, we're gonna get
that's
to that.
what makes that even more prevalent. Like you got to, if as Heathen Dog said, you're a specialist, you got a 50-50 shot of not being able to have that spell until next level.
Yes. Now, that 15% is not a random number. It is specifically chosen for a reason. You know how I know that? Because take a look at what 18 intelligence percentage gives you.
Mm-hmm.
Add 15 to that, you don't got to roll anymore. An 18 intelligence specialist wizard never has to roll to learn his specialty school spells. It's 100%. So you win because you win. You both have talent and training. So you're a winner. Now, everything else is down to 70%, but that's still okay. So, yeah. And where was I? I forget what page I was on. Damn
it. Sorry, I can't see that. So,
no, I went straight to cleric. Look at that.
Foreshadowing.
Right, here we are. Whenever a specialist reaches a new spell level, he automatically gains 1 spell of his school to add to his spell books. This is something the mage would salivate over.
Yep.
Having a choice of spell every time he gains a level. No, the regular mages have to just do the work, get the scroll, roll that possibly weak ass percentage chance, and then get a spell. No, you get 1 free every level. Now, it doesn't say spell level. It is every level. Calm down.
Yeah, yes.
You go from 1 to 2, you get 1. You go from 2 to 3, you get 1. Now, it is assumed that the character has discovered this new spell during the course of his research and study, just general background during the time he was gaining from the bottom of the last level to his new level.
Wait, sorry, backtrack for just a second here. It's every spell level.
Oh, reaches a new spell level. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is usually every level, right? I mean,
No,
let's take a
it's
look.
usually every other, except for like between 5th and 6th level spells or something.
Oh, every spell level. Sorry. Every spell level. So you get a free spell at level 3, a free spell at level 5,
Yep.
a free spell at level 7, 9, and then it goes to 12.
This is one of the areas where
Okay,
my
yeah,
dungeon
I misread
masters and
that.
I
Thank you.
worked really well together. Either if they didn't care, I got to pick the spell that I wanted.
Yeah.
If they gave me a spell, I knew it was going to be meaningful for the course of
Yeah.
his campaign.
Again, this is trust built between a player and a dungeon master. The dungeon master isn't going to give you a spell that is useless going forward, or toward the long-term adventure that you're on. All right. Just or if he does, he's a cockroach. Right. But most of the time I let him pick.
Yeah.
I'll let him pick. They can blame themselves. When a specialist wizard attempts to create a new spell using the rules given in the DMG, the DM should count the new spell as one level less if the spell falls within his school. So, depending on if you want to create a 9th level spell, it's going to be factors harder than creating a 1st level spell. But if it's your specialty, it's considered one level lower. I don't know if one goes to 0, what that does to the math. I
It's
haven't read the
still
DMG
worth the amount of experience points of its level, though. It's just the difficulty that's lower.
Yes, that's the difficulty or effective level, not actual level, right? So there you go. An enchanter attempting to create a new enchantment spell would have an easier time of it than an illusionist attempting to do the same. Then we get to the illusionist. This is just an example of what I was talking about. I don't need to go through it. It's an example of a specialist. The reason the illusionist is the example is because the gnome is the exception to all the other rules. The gnome can be an illusionist and nothing else.
It also shows how to basically how the specialist works in a little bit more definitive format. You can do the same thing with the necromancer, with the transmuter, and so forth. But but here's what I'm going to put out there for the folks. If you really, really, really want Heathen Dog to cover the illusion, if you think it's that important that he skipped it and he missed like all of Dungeons & Dragons 2nd edition, you should probably put that in the comments.
Yeah. I mean, if you want me to go over if you want Max to go over the Wizard's Handbook. No, you know what? I think I did the Wizard's Handbook years ago. You should probably look in the list, see if you can
I'd
find
have
it.
to look. I don't remember doing that, but maybe.
It could have been like 7 years ago. I don't know. It could have been something like that. But that is the specialist wizard. A lot of benefit. To be fair, a lot of benefit. I mean, it solves that level 1 problem. It doubles the number of spells you can sling per day. That is a big deal to a lot of people. It gives everyone a -1 to save against my spells, and I get a +1 to save against spells thrown at me that I know about. That's a big deal, especially at low levels. And when I get to level 9, start making magic items and scrolls that are of my specialty, it makes it that much easier. Creating spells makes it that much easier as long as it's of my school. The downside, of course, is you are locked out of whole swaths of spell list. And depending on what school you choose to specialize in, these could be generally considered useful spell lists. Like Enchantment Charm is generally considered useful, especially if you don't have a warrior heavy group. You might not want to fight. The well-placed charm or sleep spell could eliminate lots of pain.
Yeah, or any type of like Lankmar type guilds will just say anywhere where persuasion and personality is needed. I'm not a fan of the enchanter myself, but not because I think it sucks. This is probably more because I suck. But I'm not really a fan of the enchanter, but I absolutely see its uses.
Yes. And learning any spell outside of your school is significantly harder. Especially if you have a low intelligence to start with. Like if you have a 9 intelligence, learning spells of your school is a coin flip. Learning spells of any other school you're allowed access to is a mere what? 20%? 20% chance. That's crazy. That's absolutely batshit crazy.
And
so,
based on what I said earlier, I would still keep that. The only thing that I would get rid of is the spell level cap. I would just say there's no spell level cap. You can cast up to 9th level spells. Good luck getting them.
Yeah. Especially if you chose the wrong school, they don't have a lot of high level spells anyway, because that happens. That happens. But that is the specialist mage. I hope you appreciate it. Hope you got something out of it. If you want to tell me I was wrong or I missed something, because I almost missed to what was it? The whole
Yeah, the thing was, I agreed with you at first, and then I was like, wait a second, that's not true, because I played a bunch of specialist wizards, and so I quickly started reading was I wrong on that? And it was there, so.
Yeah, I almost missed it. So, yes. So if I missed something else and neither of us caught it, please let me know in the comments. What do we have for chat?
Start a couple of them, because I thought they're interesting.
Okay.
So Dartheic says, I don't think the extra spell is worth it to choose a specialist wizard. And if your intelligence is high enough, the plus 15% learn is nothing.
Well, I wouldn't say nothing. 15% out of 100 is significant. It is statistically significant at all levels, low or high. But I understand how you could look at that and go, well, as long as I don't play a dumbass wizard, as long as my intelligence is 14, 15 or higher, then that's not significant to me. I get it.
As somebody who's, sorry, go.
No, that's it.
I don't know when I started, but I played mostly specialists. Again, mostly necromancers, but I have played some other ones as well. There's a benefit to both, and I will tell you that I actually prefer playing specialists myself. Yes, it's just one extra spell, but it is an extra spell. I also get a spell of my choosing, basically. So instead of just relying upon the crap that comes off a dungeon floor or whatever the dungeon master wants to throw at me or whatever, I'm basically guaranteed, barring a minor exception there, of getting the spell I want.
Yeah, at levels 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, all like that. You get a spell of your choice, or it says the DM can choose for you, but as long as he's not a dill hole, then
right,
you'll get the spell.
And none of the abilities by themselves are game breaking, but you put them all together and they just kind of have this feel that makes the specialist have its own feel, for the lack of a better word there. And that's what I actually like about it the most.
Yeah.
If you don't think that the rules matter or game breaking, or really that it just matters that you do all this stuff, I like the fact, and I'm going to go to a completely different game that Heathen Dog knows very well. When we played in Heathen Dog's mage game, I had zero access to the time sphere. Couldn't do anything with it. Couldn't see it. I think I was even affected by it more or whatever. I forget all of it. But I was blocked from time. I actually thought that had a lot of character to the character. When I play a necromancer here and I can't have the illusion, you lose illusions. Nah, dude. I can think through some pretty cool illusions, especially if I also had some zombies roaming around. That zombie's real. That zombie's not. That, whatever. There are a lot of things you can do with stuff like that I think just add some flavor. Is it necessary? No. Is it better than the mage? In some regards, but ultimately, no. But they're still viable and they're still good.
Yeah. Now remember, the downside of being a specialist at higher level is present. You cannot make any magic items, scrolls, potions, whatever, that simulate the effects of your opposition school.
Yep.
You can't use them, anything that simulates the effects of your opposition school. So a higher level mage can create whatever the hell he wants, use whatever the hell he wants. A higher level specialist, well, after 9th level, he's even more hampered. Before 9th level, no one cares.
You picked a theme, stick to it.
Yeah. You have to stick to your theme. All right, what else we got?
Oops, let me close that out. Okay, Ron Niabati, good to see you here. I know you like a lot of our Free League stuff. I'm glad to see you here for the D&D stuff. I've seen the comments as well. It says, the more game review videos, the better. Oops, I guess that's one for the illusionist. It's good to see you, sir. And Chris Zeba says, Heathen Dog missed it. So far from the mark. I don't know what that was about.
What are you talking about? What did I miss?
What did he miss? Or are you trolling him? Because I like that too.
He's trolling me. Yeah, he's trolling me. Kudos, sir.
Oh, and let's, in the meantime, I'm going to put this up here. This is, so Heathen Dog, are there going to be more 2nd edition videos focused on DMing? I'm the forever DM, and I've decided to pull my dingus players out of 5th to 2nd. Okay. I'm a good DM, so I can get away with such choices. Well, it's also
Okay. Well, after this
good
book,
game.
you know, if it gets enough traction, I could do this book. And make sure it's this book,
Good
not
luck
some
finding
stupid
it.
green book version.
Um,
Because I don't like this green book. I don't like it.
I hear you.
It yeah, all the optional stuff is not in blue. It's not easily accessible, all that stuff. I don't like it.
I mean, I think the layout in it, I have to admit, is overall better, but it's not what I'm used to, and I don't like change, so I agree with you. uh, we'll see about that, and I say that because if you want him to do you want him to do a deep dive or talk with something specific? So here's a plan that I have for, you know, anybody who knows me and knows the channel knows I think about next year's stuff like a year before we even get into it. So I know we're going to be covering this year, at least for segment 1, June of last year. Well, same thing kind of with this. I've been really, really debating because I love what we do here. I love our overviews and I love the deep dives. But there is something more, and we've talked about it for a couple of years, where I want to dive into more particular things. Now, I was thinking more Palladium, to be honest with you, where we take an aspect of Palladium, say missiles, missile combat, and just make an entire video just on missile combat, what it means, how to implement it, not just reading the rules, we'll do that too, but here's an example, here's another example, this is where it fails, this is where it succeeds, blah, 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 right? We could probably do that for Dungeons and Dragons as well, take some core things out of there. Okay, you want to know how to make magic items in 2nd edition Dungeons and Dragons per the DMG, or you want to know how to hand out treasure, or you want to hear what it says about how to make your own character classes in there? Don't do it. The experience points are way too high. I've tried to make hundreds of classes out of there, and every time it's like, I need 5,000 experience to get to 2nd level.
Yeah,
Like,
because you want to make the best class out there. Well, you can, but they're all going to be level 1 for like 80 years.
Wow, with a super chat, Kevin comes in and says, DMG, please just go to Player's Handbook's only half the game.
That's fair. That is a fair assessment. It is literally half the game, because 2nd edition, the only thing you need to play is a player's guide and a DMG, and that's it. So yeah, it is literally half the game.
The videos we are doing are player-facing videos. So I don't know, but I think that concept I want to do, and Heathen Dog and I can talk about that because, as you know, we have our schedule going forward for this year, which is next. What is after this? Oh, well, I might skip Alternity and go right to Earthdawn. We're already over halfway through the year, so I think I have to go to Earthdawn and skip Alternity and see if there's time at the end of the year so that you can get in Shadowrun 1st edition as well. And then next year we could come back to the DMG, or if you don't mind him doing as an overview, a part of the segment 2 stuff, whatever. There are ways we can do that, but those are the type of suggestions that we like to hear. Otherwise, we just keep doing what we're doing and find the next thing that we, want to do it on. By the way, I completely forgot to end that video, so all this is going to be on the video portion of it, not just the live stream. So there we go. Awesome. Please like, subscribe, and share. What are your thoughts? Do you want Heathen Dog to cover the Dungeon Master Guide as well? Let us know in the comments, and I look forward to seeing everyone. Oh, what are you covering next, Heathen Dog? The Priest or Thief?
Yes. Priest.
Oh, it's Priest. Priest.
No, it's Priest and Druid. Priest and
All
Druid.
right.
That's for next week.
Priest and Druid. Sounds great. We'll look forward to seeing everybody then. Goodbye.